morning, everyone. This is Jen Lynn with Women of Vision. Today, we have the wonderful Ashley McHatton of Element Image Company. Yeah, let's say that one more time. Element Image Company. And my lovely co-host is the founder of Women of Vision, Maurice Brown. Say hello.
Hey, hey.
All right, let's jump right into this. So Ashley is kind of a branding specialist. She has... Well, I shouldn't say kind of, she is. I mean, this girl is amazing. And I have personally gone to her for some pointers and tips. I've gone to a couple of I've gone to a seminar of hers. And, this girl has helped me out a lot to kind of focus up my business and get ready and going. And honestly, her knowledge is something that every business could use. And so, Ash, how did you get started with this? Where did you grow up? What happened? What's going on?
Well, thank you guys for having me. And I'm originally from the Bay Area. And so I grew up in the East Bay in Fremont and then lived in San Ramon, went to Chico State, which is local, about an hour away from here, for college, and studied philosophy, thinking I was going to go into law. And it made me a fantastic bartender while I was at college on the extended Chico State plan. And then after, I got married, had kids, ended up moving back down to the Bay Area. And during that time, worked in corporate America for a few big companies, and my oldest son got sick. And during that time, my first marriage had fallen apart, and I was dating somebody that lived up here in Redding. So that's what brought me back up here. And so when I was trying to find how I was going to restart my life and pick a new career and go that angle, I thought right away, like, photography kind of happened. And so I'd been doing it forever on the side. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll be a photographer. So got into a few galleries here locally, and I was like, oh, I'm a photographer. But as I got more into photography, I really missed helping businesses, because when I was working in the Bay Area, that was one of the primary things I did, was go into companies and help figure out how to keep them in business, help them deal with their problems, and sort that out. And I'm like, I really missed that piece. So what happened was my first branding client, basically, not even knowing that's what it was a thing or what to call it, was back down in the Bay Area. She was a yoga instructor out of Capitola, and she needed help with some new images and some content, and it wasn't just pictures. And she's like, I keep trying to find somebody to take these pictures. And what I saw, what the need was trying to communicate her message through the pictures to match everything and how she was going to use them. And to me, that was really easy. I was like, oh, we need this space over here. So that's kind of the how it started. And as I began, to put some roots down in town, I was working a lot out of town, so trying to find clients, in New York and back in San Francisco, and getting to do that. But that's how it started. And what, again, I started realizing was I wasn't just doing the photography piece. It was really, everybody thinks they need the pictures or the shiny new thing. They really just needed to know what to do and how to use the stuff to get the new clients. And
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
I remember when I first met you, that's what drew me to you, was because the word branding, it sounds so elusive. Even to me, it was. And I was so drawn to connect with you, because I wanted to know, what is branding? First let's back up and, in your own words, what's branding to you and in your experience,
Well, the way I describe it, because branding, I think, traditionally has been looked at like your logos, your fonts, your graphic design pieces, which is definitely a part of that. But I look at it like your brand, especially when we're solopreneurs, is your personal brand. So I look at it like dating, and I always use that analogy where your brand is how you show up on that first date. It's, do you show up, are you a t-shirt and jeans girl? Are you, a corporate executive? Like, all of the things that your nonverbal communication expresses to you that matches who you are, that to me is branding. So yes, like your logos and fonts is definitely part of that. That might be like an arm or a leg, but really the core of your brand is who you are and that message. And the same is true whether you're a big company. It's like there's that core piece about who you are and what you're bringing to the table, because then your marketing is, once you open your mouth to speak, using the first date analogy, your marketing is everything that comes out of your mouth during that time. So they go together. And it's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to kind of figure out, like, well, what's my brand? I'll brand later? And whether you realize it or not, you brand from the beginning. So it's the things about you, like Jen here with her jewelry line, like she's, has a very distinct style. She's been doing that, I'm sure, from day one, her own way, where it's different than somebody else's. So whether she calls it a brand from the beginning, it's those unique things about you and how you're showing them that is what makes your brand.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem, I know for me, is that piece that you say, who you are. I think a lot of people don't know who they truly are, or at least to express it and convey it, especially in a message.
Absolutely.
Or even know how to incorporate who you are into your own business. I think that's something that's very difficult for people to do. So that's kind of what you do. You baby step them through it.
That's really, because that was, again, from the photography, like I can get to know people, and whether you call it intuitive or whatever, like I can figure out people really fast. So I could tell you who you are, but if you're not ready to hear that, or you don't want to hear that, like it doesn't always work very well. And so I've, like, you've been to my workshop, like where and I'll tell you, if you're listening to this podcast, there's some free tools online that I think are great to get started. One is archetypes.com. You take this quiz and it shows you how you see the world. And then there's another one by Sally Hogshead that's howtofascinate.com, and there's a free quiz there, and she has great books, but that's kind of how the world sees you. And so that I found is a really great tool, and in my experience, it also doesn't freak people out for like anybody that has those kind of superpowers to go in and tell you who you are. But it gives everybody a common ground. For example, my personal brand is the explorer. So it's all about the journey, going on a path, honoring the unique individual. So I really want to find out that special thing about each of my clients, to where we show that off all the time. And like you were saying, Jen, like as a business, it's really hard to, like, well, how do you show that now? And it's also like, if you are a personal brand, where does Jen or Marie's, the business person, end in like your personal life? Like what do you include and what don't you include? And I always use the analogy, it's like taking a picture. It's what you decide to put in the frame is important, but it's the most important is what you decide to leave out. So there's certain things in my business I share, and anybody that's gotten to know me, like I like tequila, chips and salsa, I have 5 dogs, I'll tell you about my son. I'll tell you those things, but I won't tell you like that my desk is always a mess.
I have to own that one.
Yeah, I'm like, it's true, but it's like that. I don't talk about that in my content or my personal connecting stories, but is it not important? Like, it's, if you ask my husband, it's super important, but like, what's that desk clean? But it's what do you leave out and what do you put in that still makes you relatable? Because anybody else that I want to work with probably also likes chips and salsa and thinks it should be a meal. And like, just that, like on my website, I think at the bottom it says powered by chips and salsa, and everybody knows that like at the end of a session with me, that's usually what we're going to go to.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But it makes me also but that's why, like, knowing who you are and using even just those free tools, it really helps you go like, okay, like how am I going to show this then? And like, oh, maybe I don't have to show all these other things, or like you get those results and you're like, well, that's the unique thing about me. Instead of like, for example, my Fascinate test is my primary brand language is speaking with innovation. So a lot of people like my weird, crazy ideas. I used to try to hide those all the time. And because I thought, I was like, oh no, everybody wants the same. And like this really, and once I realized that people are coming to me because they've done all the same things that everybody else is doing, and they don't want to be a cookie cutter, they want to figure out what makes them different. It gave me permission to do that. So that's what I find that everybody needs. We think that our weaknesses are not our strengths, and it's the reverse. I mean, our strengths are definitely our weaknesses too, but those things that we think that are weird about ourselves are usually the key to our success.
It's starting to sound like a spiritual or personal journey.
Can I get an amen?
No, but
Let's preach it.
but it's all in the mind, right? It's all in your
is.
heart, and it's gotta express its way out. So I have a question for you. When you came to Reading, how long have you been here?
I think it's just turned 4.
Oh, 4 years. Were you a branding strategist already, or?
I didn't know I was.
Photography?
I was doing photography when
Okay.
I moved here, and so I And probably 6 months in, I realized that and I still do photography. It's a huge piece of what I do in my business, but I realized that there's some sessions that if I have to do that for a living, then I was like, I might as well just go back and get a corporate job. And if I'm going to do that, then
What do you mean?
well, like, for example, like I don't want to do weddings. Like I do them, but I was like, if that's what I need to do to be successful, that's not going to make me happy. And I didn't know until I hired my first business coach that branding was a thing. And like, I knew marketing was, and so she's like, no, there's branding photographers out there. And so once I was like, oh, well, that's what I am. I'm still a photographer, but I'm just going to work with businesses. But it wasn't until that I had a few of those sessions out of town that I realized that I'm more than just a photographer, because what people, again, didn't know how they were supposed to show up. They wanted some picture of them clicking on their laptop or some picture with like, a headshot. And it's like, they didn't know what they needed. They just knew what their friend or their competition was doing. And so I again realized through my own journey that what I had to offer was helping them figure out who they were and show it to them, and then we can make the pictures to communicate the message.
Yeah, I like that. Like how they focus on their competition instead of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, no, honestly, like Ashley's story is pretty awesome because if you think about it, she started to be a photographer. And now she's created this whole new business that honestly, it's hard to find. It's hard to find somebody to help you brand your business. And it's completely evolved into such a cool little niche thing, Ash. And I get all excited. And I mean, like,
I get super excited. And like this year we've grown and like we're hiring employees. I mean, and that's the thing, like I was afraid, I think just like any other business owner for a really long time with like, what if my stuff isn't enough? What if I'm not enough?
yeah.
Like all of the like imposter syndrome stuff that comes up where you get...
Well, even the fear of success syndrome, too.
Well, yeah. And I was like, why is that? Like, really, that's what I'm afraid of? Like, like what would it be like if I... was actually really successful in matching my old corporate salary? Like, why is that a scary thing? And it was for a while. And but yeah, I'm excited with how it's turned out. And again, like we all in any business, I think genuinely want to help other people.
Yes.
And what we do, whether it's through giving them like what you do, a piece of jewelry that's just they're excited about. Like I have several of your pieces, and I'm like, oh, I love this one. And, but it's like this is what we want, and I think too a lot of times, like I want people to find a way to succeed in their business, because if you're going to go through all of the rejection, the hurt, the long hours, the sleepless nights, the like crying, the I suck, I quit, and then tomorrow you're still back doing it again. Like that's probably weekly for me. Like, but like you want to know that you want to have somebody that's champion for you, that's going to help you like figure it out, because again, sometimes we just don't know. Like I've definitely invested in my own business and tried to have those people for me where it's like, is this right? Am I communicating right? Because for photography, like I could tell you about composite images and, all these elaborate photography terms. But if you're my client and you have no idea what that is, I've just lost you.
Yeah.
But if I said, we're going to find pictures that are going to meet, your design on your websites, and we're going to leave space on this side so you can put like a button here for people to click on, you'd be like, oh, totally different, right? And we forget how to talk to our clients too, because we're so, invested, I guess maybe it's the word, in trying to figure out how to make our own businesses work at the same time trying to help others.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really
that's
hard.
interesting.
It is, especially when you do, like, if you're the one-person show.
You're doing all of the
everything.
things. Yeah,
Yes,
do all the things.
the things. So, all right, now back to the branding thing now.
Yeah.
Something that you have on your website is the 5 things to not do, which I'm really curious about this.
So I'll give you a couple.
What am I doing wrong?
The 5 things to not do is not show up. So what do I mean by that is like to not tell people what you do. So we think, again, like we're telling people what we're doing and we're not. So the best way to explain that is like you're starting to do lives, for example, on your weekly thing, which I think is amazing. But again, if you're talking about the process of like, well, here is where I arc this thing and like use, I don't know, metalsmithing terminology. Clearly, I'm not.
I
But
bend
like,
this wire.
yeah, but like that might be cool if you're like teaching people how to do it and they're already kind of in your system and
Right.
like in your flow and they've gone to a few classes, then you have that language. But if we think we're being really clever, that's really a number one thing is we think we're being clever. And clever, I love to be clever all day. But, live the life and dreams you love. Like, that's what they're going to get from you. It's like, what does that mean, though? Like, how are you going to do that? And then to find out that you're, like, a chef, I'm like, what? Or something else. So it's being really clear as if you had to explain it to your kids, your 2-year-old, like, super, super clear to where you're like, it's not sexy. It's not clever. It's not some, like, crazy tagline. It's again, not sexy is the best way to explain it. It's like, I do marketing for people, or I do branding. And even that to me is like, probably I need to take another step down. I help you find more clients.
There you go.
Or I help you make more money. Because everybody wants that. Like that's the
yes.
end results, right? But that's very different than I help, you design a whatever or something. I don't know. But that's the number one thing is communicating, but really, really clearly. So people aren't doing this. They're trying to be clever. They're trying to copy people. And so that's the next thing is not to copy what your peers are doing. And I say that with like an asterisk because we look to other people in our industry for inspiration to kind of see where we are, where we enter the market. Like, is my work better than theirs? Like, no, it's not. So if they're charging this, I can maybe charge this. And I think that that's fine to do more like keep your pulse on what's going on, but
Right.
not to like judge your own worth and your own ability. It's just like, here's where I'm at right now. And so once you figure that out, copying people like in the beginning, I think is okay because you just kind of, you're trying to see how it fits. It's like wearing an outfit and you're like, I don't know if I'm a suit person or like, does this look okay? And your friends can tell you it looks amazing, but if it doesn't quite fit right, you're like, I don't know. But so it's a lot of that too, where once you figure that out though, and you're like, I am definitely a jeweler, I'm definitely a branding specialist, or I'm definitely a project manager, whatever the thing is, then it's really finding those unique things about you and not being afraid to be a little different. But the key to that is still pairing it in a way that people are used to seeing it. So if they come to your site and it looks like it's all flashing and like music videos and then you say that you're a jeweler at the bottom, like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't have really edgy pictures or you can't do really artsy stuff or more spiritual looking images. It's just, even if nobody else is doing that, it still needs to look or maybe be designed in a way people are used to seeing it.
Right.
Because that's the thing. It's like people go for like when they want to be different, they go to way the other extreme to where, again, people aren't used to seeing things a certain way. So like I could have this really great idea for like an adventure thing that people, like a treasure hunt that people almost go up the, I-5 corridor. But I'm like, why would they do that? But if I said, oh, it's kind of like geocaching, some people have heard of that. So they can say like, oh, it's like Pokemon Go maybe. Another better thing to do is like, let's do like a location and food pairing, because people do like cheese and wine or beer and wine pairing, right? So it's similar in their brain to what they're already used to seeing.
Right.
So that's the key is making sure that when you after you be really clear about what you're saying, is making sure that you are be not so different that you're not recognizable or understable again. Because
I think you do a good job, Jen.
Oh, Jen does a great job.
But
yeah.
But if you were to say something like one tip or one
No, I would like to hear.
yeah,
Please.
like just one nugget for her today.
For Jen.
yeah.
Oh, that's like
It is hard, huh? I just put her on the
so
spot.
no, I think like for you, I know like because you had gone to the seminar and like I
Right.
know what your goals are for the year. I think for you, what not to do is when you start to get really busy, don't stop doing the things that you're just now starting. Like, don't stop showing up live. Don't stop
Okay.
calling on clients. I know, like, it's my own advice to myself. It's like, because I was like wrestling, going, I'm booked for the next 3 months where I can't take on any new clients. But do I still stop prospecting and doing
Woohoo.
sales? Yeah, that's
we
great.
need to do some dance on that one.
But the answer is like no, like you don't want to stop doing those things, and then when you get caught up, you're starting over again, or it feels like it because you've dried up your leads and your pop
Right.
or that you were finally starting to get traction in an audience that likes you and like looks forward to your lives that might not buy from you for another year,
Right.
but they're going to buy from you.
So with her live, so you're saying don't stop doing it at least this year or just a certain time or
I think
forever?
like if she's committing to it, it sounded like
am.
you're committing to it for every Friday for a
Yep.
year. I would do it, and at the end of that year, if you're not seeing any results from it, then the thing is like it's to be intentional. Like I'm not quitting this because I'm too busy. I'm not quitting this because I don't like doing it. If it's working, then ask yourself what that next level is,
Right.
and maybe it's hiring somebody that comes in or finding an intern or something.
Right.
Oh,
Free.
don't just
Well,
love talking to her.
luckily,
She gives me
this
goosebumps.
woman is like my
But like
favorite.
come in once a year. But the next thing is like, well, maybe we can then add those lives if you don't have a YouTube channel already. I think
I
you
do. I just started
So
one.
Yay.
just throw those up on
I need to
YouTube,
subscribe. Okay.
and like that way you're on YouTube also, and then you can also rip the audio off of that, and now you have a podcast.
Well, I don't think my lives would be good for this podcast because
They
it's
might,
a little
though.
rough.
But that's okay. Like again, like it.
And
It's
you
just-
kind of need to see what
That's
I'm
a good
showing
next year
too.
thing that
But
she
if,
could.
but if by the time of next year you'll be more polished and you'll be
Yeah.
into
Right.
seeing what people want. But if people are finding you on a podcast for the first time because they love podcasts, and obviously what you do is visual,
Yes.
I would want to go then find you on Facebook or YouTube, and it would make me want to go watch the thing.
Okay.
And because we get to see you, that's one step away from being in person. Like you'll never beat being in person. Like,
Right.
But now that we have a lot of really good other options, so it lets people right away get to connect with you. That even if they don't always love your designs, I still want them to buy from you because they like you. And a lot
Right.
of people, like we've talked about this before, like are going to buy just because of how it makes them feel,
Exactly.
even if they never wear it. Like that's hard as
I
like
hate
a creative.
That. I know. I want them to be
I want
wearing
them
that.
to wear it too. Like I want people to put my stuff up. I want them to use all of the things I've given them. But if they got what they really wanted out of it, which was how it made them feel,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, no, I do have those impulsive purchasers for sure.
I'm one of them. Because I'm like, I just feel like spending some money because jewelry makes me feel better. But that's what you want to be. So that's what my advice to you is don't, even when things happen, like be committed to it because the people are going to count on it. And you're building up this trust with them in that way. And people will look forward to it because that's the value you're giving them is going to be educational or entertaining, or maybe it's inspirational. Some of them might be thinking that they want to be a jeweler as well, and so they're going to learn from you. Other
Right.
people are just going to like you and want to watch what you're doing. Don't stop. No matter what. That's
Well,
my,
I like that you said give it a year at least because people try too many stuff, in a short amount of time, never seeing the results out of it.
it takes a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a year is.
Well, I mean,
that's
I'm
a
already
long
seeing
time.
results, which is kind of exciting.
You should, and I think you should serious. I look at something if you're really committed to something for 90 days, and again, like, what are you hoping to get from it? Like,
Right.
if you're hoping to get people to either come in or buy from you or talk to you, like, whatever your goal is what you need to measure. But just looking at it and seeing like what is the goal before you even start, because if you say like, oh, I just want people to engage with me, and then you get really upset because you don't have more sales, then that
Right.
wasn't your goal.
Right.
So knowing that to begin with, because then in 90 days, if something's not working, you need to tweak it. I still don't say shut it down and stop, but say like, I'm not saying something right, or nobody's listening on Fridays, maybe Tuesdays, or maybe you ask your audience, but don't give it up, because like Maria says, a lot of people give up right when it's starting to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this seminar we keep talking about was called New Year, New Revenue that we hosted on January 13, and I was so happy that Ashley partnered up with Women of Vision to get that going.
fun.
Yeah,
and
that
that
was
was
a good
fun, and we got a lot of good positive feedback, and I feel like
Everybody wanted it longer, and I was like,
Oh, I
I
know.
felt bad
And-
that
Yeah,
I thought it was already too long. I was like, oh, I'm
Oh, no,
glad.
I wanted it longer too.
yeah. So I'm hoping to recreate that, like really an annual thing, because it's a good start to your year. Like
Absolutely.
Jen, for example,
Yeah.
where she used that to get started for this year, 2018, and how she can approach her business in a different way, at least.
Yeah, what was great, what Ashley really, really helped me out with in that seminar was getting everything situated and figuring out, like, okay, I need to get my website done because once that's done, it takes care of itself, and I can stop stressing about it. And then now, what are the other things? And she totally like set up this whole pie chart, like, okay,
Oh, yeah, the pie
this
chart
is
is my
what you need to
favorite.
do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And that actually brought so much clarity to me and made me realize, okay, I can organize this so I don't lose my mind. And I love it.
So for the pie chart for people listening, if you put your like picture a big pie cut into however many shapes, like let's say 6, your message, right? What you're selling, what you do is in the middle of the pie chart, and then all the pieces of the pie are how you are communicating that message out. So you might have like, I want to have a podcast by the end of the year. I would put that as one piece of your pie. Then like your website is obviously how you communicate. That's another piece. And you go through all these different pieces and look at where they are and what needs to get done. But you should always be looking, because the whole of the pie, again, is your brand, it's your marketing, it's all of it goes together. But it's really easy, like Jen's saying, like to chunk it down. And again, I always say 2 or 3 goals a week, and they can roll over, but like you have to get them done. Like
Yes.
you don't get to add and work on the next shiny thing until like the website's done.
Right.
Or until you order business cards or whatever the things are. Or let's see, I'm trying to think of another
Well,
project. Hire a new staff member.
Yeah, the pie chart to me, what I got out of it was it simplified things, because there's so much elements you can put into your business, especially with social media and how crazy things are, right? You can have Facebook, you have Instagram, podcasting, website, and who knows what else is out there. Twitter, that I don't even touch because I don't
Me
know. So, YouTube. So that simplified it for me, because I had all this, wild ideas, but to just put it all in that
see it.
chart, I can visually see it, and then all of a sudden I could visually see what I can do. Yeah, in 30 days, 90 days.
Yeah.
And when I want to launch this, and how things kind of relate to each other.
Yeah. Because that's the hardest thing is, like, again, for so many people, we're wearing all the hats, and even some of the bigger companies that I'm working with that are still wearing so many hats, and then now they're managing people wearing other hats. And
Yeah.
the responsibility doesn't go away, it just changes. And so it's really nice to get all of that out of your head, so you're like, so you can breathe. That's how I look at it. Because otherwise, you're losing sleep at 3 a.m. going, oh, I need to work on this, and then like, not only then you like drop the ball on something for the client, and you're just like, oh no, like how am I supposed to do? Like, how do people do this? And so that's why I like that, because it's just makes it really easy to say like this is done. Or like for some people, the website, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna wait till 6 months from now for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
but
that
it just
important.
gives you
yeah.
it gives you
Yeah, that's interesting. Like the website thing. A lot. I meet a lot of small business owners here in Reading, and some of them don't have websites. And
Yep.
tell the truth, I always go to a website first before I try looking for them on social media. I don't know, just because it's informational, and I want to see like basically what it is they do, the information. So I mean, what's your take on that for those who doesn't want to have a website, or
it's
pushes that aside?
So I think like when I first started, it was like a nice to have. I definitely think now with more things going online and taking offline, like Yellow Pages, in my opinion, is dead.
Yep.
I burned mine.
Oh, I'm like, really? It's such a waste of paper.
I never look
And
at it.
but again, that's how I feel about it. But so a lot of people now, like, it's become like that, like a digital business card, you could call it. It's just a space where people can find you, and it is very different than social media. And it's important though that they all look the same or feel the same, because if you look super professional on your website and then they like go to either your personal or your business profile and you're like, I don't know, doing something crazy, like it has to match, and you just have to be mindful of that. But I think having at the very least a one-page site, that you can do them yourself,
Okay.
really inexpensive. You can hire somebody to do them. I mean, there's all kinds of options. But I think, once you are in business and that it's working, I think to invest just the $25 a month is kind of silly not to.
I agree to that, just because it's just another fishing pole out to
Well, that, but
gather
also,
clientele.
with the websites, I actually feel it brings legitimacy to the business. And, like some people we'll say the storefront is the more legitimacy to the business. But honestly, like,
It's your online storefront.
but that's the thing. Like, everything you can possibly have in place that people can reference back and see what it is that you do. And I mean, like, after I took Ashley's seminar, I actually went back. I'm working with a wonderful girl in our group who's actually videoing all of my classes, Sarah Marie. She's amazing. And, but she like really helped me. She's like, okay, I'm going to give you all this branding stuff, like just putting my logo on things, on pictures for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this everywhere. So now when you go to my Facebook, when you go to my website, when you go to my Etsy, everything is the same. When you go to my YouTube. So now, like, you know, it's me. And I think that's really important in regards to like the consistency, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's a must. You have to look recognizable. And I even say, too, for a long time, even though, because we get bored, we look at our stuff all the time, and it's just like, I'm sick of pink or whatever your brand colors are, you know, and we want to change it up. But it's when we're really, really sick of our message is finally when people are starting to, like, get it.
Yep.
And so, and like, when you're, which, you know, and so I even suggest using the same picture across all platforms for a while. And as a photographer, of course, I super hate telling you that because I'm like, no, we need lots of different pictures. But you really, like, for consistency, you know, so people know, because at some point, what will happen is when they see like Jen's work or whatever, they'll recognize it's yours before they even see anything else. And that's what you want. But until then, you want to just have it look the same. And does every image need to be branded? I think it's where it's being used on that. Like, I don't think Instagram, it should be like have stuff, but Facebook probably. And also because people could steal your pictures and your stuff. And that's super fun. And but yeah, I think it's super, super important to have, and like Jen said, to have that website for the legitimacy, because I always look at the people that only have a Facebook page, like they still haven't committed or they haven't figured out if their business is actually going to work. They're still in a hobby mode, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I think save the money until you know that you're going to be profitable or at least committed. Like, I had a website because I knew that I was going to figure out how to be profitable at some point in my business. So I did that from day one. But that's like again, what Jen said, the legitimacy of like, you're actually like in business now and you can afford a website that says something, you know?
Yeah. When you first touched down in Reading, did you already launch your business and I mean, were you already in business, and how you know, share with us your journey being a entrepreneur.
So I started.
town.
So I used to run and compete in ultra marathons, and so when I started my business, it was called something else because I thought it was going to be like a coaching business for other athletes because I did that on the side. Yes. Oh, I thought it was going to be for coaching business for other athletes. And so that's where I started the business. And then when I moved here, moved here in February, and my now husband proposed in March. And so he wanted to get married like right away. So we got married in July. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with this business? I started back in October because I took out my LLC. I did all this stuff back in October before I moved here. And so I was like, well, I really love being around runners. And I was like, well, why do I love that? And I was like, I'm really excited about being around people that are really excited about what they're doing. I'm like, there's just nothing more intoxicating than being around really passionate people.
Yes.
That my ex-husband used to breed reptiles, and I'm totally indifferent and probably even loathe reptiles now. But it was so neat to like see him so excited about all the different animals and all like the science about them, and like it was intoxicating to be around. It was fun to see somebody that excited about something, especially something that I didn't get at all, or like. But so I was like, well, and I loved being outside in the elements, and so I was like, well, I really want to just spend my life, no matter what I'm doing, about being around other people that are really excited about what they're doing, because it's always so fascinating. Because on these long runs with people, you get to know people really. I mean, you're out there by yourselves for hours. And so people just have amazing stories. And that was also when I was learning with that first client down in the Bay Area, hearing her story, like how she quit her job that was a really great pharmaceutical job out of Australia, moved back to the States, opened up this little boutique studio, and didn't know if it was going to work, but had her business plan and her loan and was going for it. And I'm like, that's so brave. And so that's really what I was always looking for in my business. And I was lucky to where, and I kind of, one of the things I tell myself is you're never going to be successful at the things that you don't love or that you're not meant for. So I had a lot of failures and a lot of people that I, wish I would have been able to take care of better, but I just wasn't excited about it, or I didn't love the work, or I was trying too hard. And I kept coming back to really quickly, thankfully, again, a lot of face plants and quick. It was that I really liked working with the small businesses because I really love people's stories. And that's why like Element Image kind of came, because I wanted to capture you out in your element. And so that was really the journey. And that's always been the thing that when I'm looking at my brand and my business, like what am I doing? My job is to find the clients that are passionate about what they're doing, but really help show them like, this is that little thing about you that makes you different than everybody else, because people can always copy what you do. They can't copy who you are. So there's always going to be a better photographer than me, and there's always going to be a better branding and marketing person than me. If I'm doing that, I'm becoming a commodity, but there's never going to be some weird runner chips and salsa freak like me. So that's the thing that I know I bring, but then I know that for my clients that I can bring it out. And so to answer your question is, I just really wanted to make sure, and again, learning really quickly. And I think within 6 months, I was up and running in my business. And then the gear, though, in my job is, I'm probably like yours too, Jen, like the buying all the stuff. And now you have the overhead of your store. Like it's expensive business. And so, and then I was constantly taking my own classes and buying my own coaches to try to help me along the way. And so I didn't really, I think, get like profitable to where I could hire employees until the end of last year.
Yeah, I like what you said. You were hiring coaches. Yeah, for those women listening that's entertaining opening up their own business, because I'm all about pursuing. I mean, we all have our day jobs, but I know some women out there wants to pursue that thing they've been wanting to, and they've been entertaining for like the past 2 years, 10 years. But what's that one thing you want to tell them about, just going for it with what what they've been wanting to do, but also like how to get started in Reading.
To get started in Reading, like you need people. Jen's laughing. Like there's no easy, like you have to, I think I go back to my running, like you have to be committed to the goal, because like on 100 miles, if the finish line, even if you train for it, it's never guaranteed, but you have to know that you really want to go and sign up and do the race anyways, and that you're going to give it your best. And so you have to be committed to yourself first. So that was why I did my website right away. Like I know that I will succeed because I want this bad enough, and that I'm willing to fail repeatedly. Just like working out, that's the whole point, is that's what leads to growth, is the moving. And then the biggest key that I found to success, because I was like, I'm just going to do this all on my own. I don't need anybody. Like I channeled my younger child, and I was like, I'm fine. It's you need a community. Like you need,
I feel that one.
Like you need some
Strong women here. That's why.
a group like Women of Vision, and like because even running is not a solo sport. Like you have trainers and massage therapists and doctors to patch you up, and like aid station people. Like you have people on your journey, even when we think that we're doing it alone. And the fastest way to succeed is to find the right people around you, and the fastest way to fail is to think that you don't need anybody else, because even if it is your own business, you have to be able to find those people. And so when I first moved here, I didn't think I could find those people here, which is why I spent the first few years of my business finding business outside of town. And it took a while for me to find the right tribe. And if you can't find them, because a lot of times too, we think it's going to be our friends and family that are going to support us, and sadly, those are usually the people that aren't.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
Because they don't get it.
I love my family, but yeah.
and they want to protect you, really. Right. I mean, I don't think that they mean to like hold you back or make you feel bad, but really like they're scared for you. And if you're already scared, like that just doesn't help. And so you need to find other people that maybe aren't doing the same thing, but aren't a jeweler, aren't, starting their own community, but like somebody who's trying to do big things and put yourself with those people, because they also may not understand it, but they're going to help you figure it out. They're going to support you and tell you to keep going. Because even when you're really like, I found the more successful I am, the more days where some days I'm like, this is just really hard. Like, do I want to keep doing this? And like, that's when you need like your crew, it's what they call it in running, where like, you know, they basically give you sugar and pat you on the back and say, you're doing good. Like, you look amazing, even if you don't, and make you keep running. And like, you need those team members to, like, those cheerleaders in your life to say like, you know,
Don't give up.
Don't give up. And then you also need the people to help pull you from that race when like, this is just not working. Like, you know, you might think everybody needs to tape rocks on the bottom of their feet. Like some, I don't think there's that. I hope that's not a thing. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but like, you know,
It's okay too. I've been told by one of my mentors, offend them early.
But I mean, you know, like whatever, like the thing is, like the random thing, like, because we think that I thought for a long time people needed a certain thing from me. And I kept trying to like force it down, like, this is what you need. And it's like, that's not going to work. So you need those people to say like, what if we just pivoted over here? And like, you're doing the same thing, but you're calling it this, or we're giving them this also, or instead of, and not being afraid to change. But you need both of those people, the cheerleaders and like the positive critics in your life that you trust to be honest with you, that say like, yeah, your butt does look fat in those jeans. Like, we need those people, like, because you want to know, like,
Because you know your husband isn't going to tell you.
no, he's going to be like, tell you no, or he'll tell you you're amazing. And like, you really just need to be able to trust the information coming to you. And you need that group of people. So anybody that's thinking of started, I say start. Even if you don't find those people yet, it might take you a while, but that's what, like, besides being really good at whatever the thing is that you want to go do and learning how to be good at it, the other thing is trying to find those people that are either in the same boat as you, that are steps ahead of you, and whether you have to hire them. I've hired a lot of people that...
That's right. I'm going to get cheesy on you real
Yeah.
quick. But yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Oh,
I love
that
that.
just gave me chills.
Me
That's
too.
Isn't it?
Cheesy. What are you talking about, girl?
I
I'm
get
a sucker
cheesy.
for inspirational quotes.
Me too.
So yeah, and I love that you invest in coaches too, because I mean, you meet people that are just like, no, I don't need that, you know.
Well,
but you learn so much from that too.
We're not supposed to have all the answers. Like, we're supposed to survive and thrive as a community, and as a, like, you know, it takes a village. Like, it really does. It's supposed to. We're meant to work together and to collaborate. And it also saves me time. Like, yes, I could probably YouTube just about anything, but like the other night I was working on a project in After Effects, which is like a video editing software. And I was like in tears, and I'm like, why am I not just paying somebody to like edit this for me? like, and, you know, it's like, and I had the money. I was just like, oh, I'll just figure this out because I am smart and I can do all the things. And then yeah, like 9 hours later, I was no farther along in the project.
and that's it. I need to increase
yeah,
my
I was
team.
like, that was just silly. And but hiring, again, somebody, and sometimes like finding the right coach, like, you're going to hire some good ones, you're going to hire some ones that aren't a fit, and that's okay too, and not give up, but just finding the people, because you're going to learn something from each of them. And again, each one brings their own skill set that's going to make you faster. Like, I can't be my own, like in running, I can't be the athlete and my own massage therapist. Like, it just doesn't work. Like,
Right.
it's not going to get me what I need. Business is the same. Like, right now we wear a lot of the hats, but as soon as you can and there's lots of free resources and group programs. And that was one of my first ones, was a group coaching program, because it was inexpensive, and I could, once a week, jump on the call, and she would answer any of my questions for 10 minutes. That's all I needed. I'm going to go take the action and run myself into the ground and figure it out. But I just needed that, like, what about this or this? And then, go. And then, you just have to find those people. I think that's just, and not be afraid to invest, because it'll get you where you want to go, I think, so much faster.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny when you said that we're meant to work together. I mean, like, look back in the ancient times when we were hunter and gatherers. They all worked as a community together so everyone can eat, and it makes so much sense. Like, Like when I just totally got this visual of, picking berries and doing all that stuff with all the, I guess I had a past life regression. I don't know what's going on here.
It's true. I read recently, I think it's probably where it came from, Simon Sinek's book. He has a book called Start With Why, which is great. But he also has another one called Leaders Eat Last. But it talks about like trust and corporations and stuff. But he even says like we're meant to collaborate and work together. Like if we don't, we become like we're all out for ourselves. And and in our businesses, like I looked at it, like what my takeaway was, anytime that I'm worrying about if my clients are paying me, if I'm getting paid, if I'm getting mine, am I even thinking about them? Like, what does that have to do with them? They've hired me to take care of them. Like, if I'm worrying about the other stuff, like I'm not going to be very good at my job if I'm looking out for myself. Where if I'm, collaborating with a team, or if I'm, if we are going to succeed together, totally different approach. But he talked a lot about the hunter-gatherers and stuff. So yeah, you're spot on with that. But that's how we were wired to and thrive. And I think he gave an example too of like World War I, like the whole country had come together and was committed to the war and the efforts and, getting out of the Depression. And, it changed things, but it was a whole country's effort. It wasn't just like,
One
our military.
person.
Yeah, like everybody was involved, and that's what made it successful. And so that's a great book. I mean, and how I started too, my tip was, if you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with and you don't have a tribe and you can't afford a coach yet, there's so many books. Like Audible's $15 a month. I'd probably listen to like 70 books a year. I mean,
Or the podcasts are,
podcasts,
podcasts like this, or I listen to other women podcasting and men stuff too.
There's
Oh,
so
now
many
what's
girls.
your favorite podcast?
Okay, so my favorite podcast
Women of Vision.
just took the wind out of my sail. I was going to say that. Besides Women of Vision, because I'm a creative, mine is at Chase Jarvis Live. He owns a company that has online courses called Creative Live. But he interviews like the top people in all kinds of areas. So, the founder of Airbnb, Brene Brown, like just a whole bunch of and he has a free series on his creativelive.com that's called 30 Days of Genius. It's free. But he's interviewed, I think, 30 days, like people like Richard Branson, and you get to he's a great interviewer as well. And so he just really picks their brains, and he knows his audience. He knows who he's selling to. And he's like, they're either the 0 to 1 people, like the people just thinking about how to make a job doing what they love, or the people that are farther along. And so he kind of tries to talk as best he can to both people, because a lot of people get stuck like that 0 to 1, like, should I start and go for it? Or they'll finally like kind of get going, but now how do I actually I've gotten good at my craft. How do I actually make money at this now? And so he's really good at that, but the people he's connected to is really great. So that's one of my favorites I listen to every week. Lewis Howes, he has a book called The School of Greatness. His podcast is the same. He has some really interesting people. I don't listen to his every week, but I pick and choose. He's been doing it for 5 years, so there's hundreds of podcasts.
Wow.
Wow.
So that one, I kind of just cherry pick what I want to hear. And then for marketing and branding, Amy Porterfield's, I forget what it's called, but I know it's Amy Porterfield. But I also cherry pick those episodes because she'll be like really specific, like how to do a really good Facebook ad, and she stays up to date on the things, so that just saves me time. So I'm like, oh, how do I use the new Power Editor or whatever thing is, bots or whatever the new thing is? She'll usually have somebody to interview on that.
So with the mention of the Facebook ad and everything, what are the 5 things that every business needs to do?
Oh, the 5 things every business needs to do.
Every week? Every
Not
week,
every-
right?
Is it every week?
Well,
Or
there's.
is
I
that
mean,
the one,
we can.
or what a business needs to do every week.
Yeah, I think that was that, right?
Okay,
Was that it?
There's lots of topics we could talk about
There is.
for time purposes. So
Yeah, let's send everybody with something like a nice little
So again,
nugget.
know what your goals are. Know what you're going. So if you have your yearly goals like mapped out, and I think you should, I break it down to the month, I break it down to the week, and then I break it down to the day. So if my goal for this month is to redo my website, let's say I'm giving myself 1 month because I really only need to just get in there and tweak it. So my day, what that looks like is maybe week 1, I'm writing my copy. Week 2, I'm redoing my pictures. Week 3, and then so what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? So knowing what you're doing, and that has nothing to do with fulfilling your orders, going out and buying new leads, doing your Facebook Lives. It's just what are your goals for the year? Because if one of your goals was a new website, again, you're getting your big things crossed off. So knowing what your goals are and then to get them done. And it doesn't include busy work. It's whatever your goals are. So if one of your goals, like this year, I have this dream of like doing a big sports ad on Mount Rainier. So I'm like, I have to get back in shape for that. And so one of my goals this year is to get back in shape. That's nothing, I mean, it has something to do with my business, but on a day-to-day level, that's like an hour of time that I could be
Yes.
sleeping, doing anything else.
Sleeping.
But yeah, that's what I daydream about since I don't actually get to do it. But so it's knowing what your goals are, and then making sure that you are carving it in no matter what. It's a non-negotiable. As if it were a client appointment, you keep that appointment with yourself and schedule everything else around it. So knowing what your 2 to 3 goals are, and then just rolling over what you don't get done. And not because you didn't work on it, it's just because apparently copywriting that day took longer than you thought it was going to.
Right.
So then 2, everything, again, communicate to your audience. It's really knowing how you're going to communicate. So we talked briefly about that pie chart, but like all the different ways that your audience interacts with you, whether it's going to like expos and you have like a table, or you have an email list and you're going to send them out, or social media, handwritten notes, like the personal touch, whatever picking up the phone, making sure that you're communicating to your audience like in some way, and that also your message is really clear with what you're saying to them. So making sure that the language that you're using is actually something that makes sense. And again, having that tribe around you to be like, what does this mean to you when I say live the best life? And they're like, that has nothing to do with, plumbing or whatever, or whatever the thing is. They're going to help you be like, no, this is what you do. And making sure that you're saying the right thing in the right way. And then when you are talking, giving value. There's another great book by Gary Vaynerchuk called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And for every right hook that he gives, right, where he's like, buy my stuff, he's giving you 3 things of value. So I always use that approach. I mean, I try to disproportionately give more jabs than right hooks, but it's making sure that you're giving people value. So again, it can be inspiration, it can be educational, it can be entertaining. But when they finally say like, oh, I have a workshop coming up, or I have a new book that's coming out, I would love for you to pre-order, your audience is happy to do it.
Yeah.
And they're excited to. They're like, oh, this is amazing because you've given me all this, stuff, whether it's free advice or again, inspiration, or, I mean, just like we all love quotes, right? We all love to be inspired and to be motivated. That little shot in the arm goes a long way. So making sure that you're giving value. And then the 5 things you still have to sell. I mean, It's part of marketing and branding. So keeping your pipeline full, prospecting, like making sure that especially when you're busy, not to let that go. If you have to hire a team, or if you have to hire an assistant, or you can even, if you're not at that place yet, but you say like, great, I'm happy for you to just buy this thing. It's going to release in 5 weeks. Most people are okay to wait, but we're so afraid that they're going to want it now and walk away.
Right.
That we're afraid to be like, I'm really excited for this. And you're the first on the list, like for, 5 weeks from now. Well, most people are still going to say, okay. But keeping that pipeline full, because I mean, it would just be nice to know what we were going to make and take the money now. I mean, like you're going to deliver, it's just 5-week turnaround. But keeping all of those leads generated, and it's relationships too. So making sure you're building the relationships that you want in the ways that you want and that you've planned for. Like I go to networking groups, I go to events, I do speaking and like those are the ways that I'm going to go out and prospect, because that's just part of it. So doing that. And then, again, that consistency and clear message, I'm just going to drive that home again. So just like you mentioned with making sure everything looks like the same across all platforms. And like Victoria's Secret is the parent brand to like Pink. But like we both know, like when you walk into either place, that it's a Victoria's Secret store.
Yeah.
Same with their sports gear line. So we can have like classes and these other things that we do under the umbrella of our business, but it should look and feel like everything that we do. And so making sure that even though we're going to get sick of it, and we will, like that's when people are finally starting to recognize it, and that you take them on that journey of changing it when that time comes, slowly too, but you make them part of it so it doesn't feel like that I love Disney movies. So like Sleeping Beauty at the end when they go like pink dress to blue dress.
Right,
and,
yeah.
Like we don't want it to feel like that. Like where it's like, what is it? What color is this dress? It's blue, by the way. It's a blue
Yes,
dress.
blue. It's blue.
It's blue. But like that's what we want. And then, the other thing too, a lot of times like we're giving all of this value, but still don't be afraid to ask for the business.
Right.
Ask for the sale. If you think it's the right time and that they're excited about it, even if you're not ready, just still ask for the sale. Say like, I can, sign you up today. I won't be able to deliver for 5 weeks. A lot of people, again, are going to say yes. But don't be afraid to ask for the money. Like we are in business and you have to get paid.
Yeah, we got to be comfortable with that. Speaking of, what current projects are you up to these days?
Oh my gosh.
I know there's a lot and we only have like 5 minutes left.
Okay, so a few things here locally. Each month I do an images for Instagram class. So today, when you hear this, it'll already have passed, but it's at the Floranthropist. And so the theme is flowers. And then next month we're going to do it at Deja Brew. That'll be coffee. So each month it's going to highlight a local business, but then show you how to take pictures for Instagram. And then
Oh, that's going to be monthly now?
monthly.
Oh my gosh,
That is so
awesome.
cool.
Well, because
I
that way
saw
you'll get
that,
some
I'm like,
stock
I can't.
images.
Yeah.
Because that way you get your like current collection of stock images, and then you get to have different themes. But also because Instagram Stories is so big, we get to help other local businesses by blowing up their Instagram, blowing up our own with stories that day, and
That is cool.
So so doing different themes.
You need to put down the promotion Monday.
Yes.
See,
I
'cause
will.
I would
I'm trying to.
forget that.
Well, I'm trying to finish getting all the businesses on board. But yeah, I'm excited, especially for the coffee one because it's coffee and I clearly need more caffeine. So, and then yeah, just helping local businesses is my goal this year. Is to
I love it.
not
That's our goal too.
yeah, not find businesses. I mean, I'm happy to go and travel. I love it. But my goal this year for my company that's growing is to help local businesses do what we've talked about today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super cool, Ash.
So
All right, so
yeah,
where can we
work
find-
it.
oh.
Edit the jinx. Where can the listeners find you? Your websites, your
Yeah, my website's
Social media.
www.elementimageco.com, and you can find me on Facebook and pretty much any social media, every social media handle at Element Image Co. You can also friend request me on Facebook, and if I don't accept your friend request, just send me a personal note saying that you're not a stalker and you heard me from a podcast or something. So, but yeah, I mean, you can follow me anywhere, and probably the place I'm most active right now is probably Instagram, but I'm always checking on my other platforms, and I do like Twitter. I know you guys don't, but
Oh, it's not like I,
just
don't
don't
like
know how to
it.
use it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use it, but I assume it's my
Or-
favorite.
It's one of those things like how people put off their website. To me, I'm like, let's revisit in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
know.
I'm like, maybe later.
Just scoot that under the rug. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's awesome.
Well, how about you, Jen?
All right,
We've been talking about Jen Jules and
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, real quick, Ash did touch on the Facebook Live. So, what that is going on, what's happening there is join me on my Facebook business page. So, it's Jen's Jules Redding. And just search me out on Facebook. That's my handle. And every Friday evening around 5:20, give or take some few minutes, please, because sometimes I think I can do all the things and I can't. So time kind of slips away. But this happened yesterday, which is very, very frustrating. So at about 5:20 Pacific Standard Time, you can join me, and I'm going to show you all my new creations and everything. And right before the show, I'm actually going to load up all the items I'm going to show, and they'll be available to you for my shop prices. Now, my shop prices are my wholesale prices. You're not going to get them for that price anywhere else, but the catch is they're only available for 2 weeks. So you need to either purchase them off Facebook, or you can come into my shop and purchase them for that price, or you have to wait until they're on Etsy, which who knows how long that will take. And usually the prices are significantly higher to actually pay myself for all the extra time that I have to spend to photograph and edit and post and blah, blah, blah. It's the stuff I hate to do. Just let me play with metal, and that makes me very happy. But no, I have to do all the other things.
Yeah.
One day. So yeah, that's great. You can find me on Instagram at Jen's Jules Redding CA. My website is www.jens-jules.com. And you can actually find links to all of my other things on my website. And I do have my first free instructional video to teach you, for those of you who want to learn some metalsmithing. It's a stamped silver ring, or band ring, whatever you want to call it. And that takes you step by step on how to create your first band ring. So that's good stuff. And I have 2 more free videos coming, and launching very soon in the springtime will be my online metalsmithing university.
Awesome. What does Women of Vision have coming up?
Yeah.
Well, we finally have a website.
So exciting.
Another thing for me to change things on.
womenofvisionreading.com. So if you're interested about our group and what it is we do, just go in there. Because now I'm like, go in there.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain anymore. If it doesn't explain it yourself, then come to an event. Next one we have, tonight is our, which is passing now.
Yeah.
But the next one is on March 10. It's going to be sponsored by Bohem Spa Salon. It's called Pampering and Connecting. They're going to be doing some mini, services for the ladies that's
love that
attending.
place.
So it's going to
never been
be
there.
awesome. Yeah, and that place
Excited.
is so cool. Like, you just feel so relaxed. And we do have our Facebook Lives every Thursdays at 10, just to feature the women in the group and what they're up to. And I think that's it. We're also on Instagram, Women of Vision Reading.
And I think that's it.
That
Are we all
is
good?
it.
Are we
Yeah,
out of time?
thank you,
We
Ashley,
are.
for being here.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Ash.
you guys for
I
having me.
adore you, and I've been looking forward to this
Me
interview
too.
from the beginning. So, and to all you listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and please join us next time, and have a wonderful day. Take
That's
care.
right.